everyone, and welcome to a Life Lived Trans podcast with your hosts,
Hi.
Mardi P and Lenny Z.
Hi.
We're so excited to bring you this weekly dose of wisdom from two old trannies who have seen it all before. Right now, you're listening to a free preview. To get the full episode, be sure to check out our Patreon. Links will be in the description. And it's really patreon.com/alifelivedtrans. Hi, Marty.
Hi, Lenny. How are you doing?
I'm good. How's your day and your week going, darling?
Well, it's a good moment. It's a good moment. It's like it's been a week of suffering, for this, life lived transsexual, and I think we wanted to touch on that stuff too, because, my fallout from, lasting that long. It's like we all get something, right? We all get something if we get old, period, right? But all the trauma, like, I was marinated since a kid. So PTSD and its lovely little symptoms of, migraine disease. And so I had two this week. So it's been a challenging week, but, I'm here. It's a good day today.
Yeah, I'm having a rough day a little bit. It's Mother's Day, and I feel, I was estranged from my mom for 15 years. I know you were estranged from your mom for over 20, right?
28, yeah.
And, you did get a little bit of closure, which I think we cover in one of the other episodes.
Yeah, do we? Yeah, I just remember thinking that I never wanted to see her ever again. I was just, it was the same old, like Marty's dead type of thing, and she was just not into it. And I was so insulted because she was the one with the modeling agency and she was all hip and cool and everything like that. But she was starting to get into Billy Graham and all that stuff. And so I was stepping on cracks to break her back, like, as I was working Davie Street at like 15, sucking knobs to survive because my parents didn't want me, right?
Oh my God, so heartbreaking. And I think for a lot of us,
Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah. I think
So I know for any of our listeners, it's like, we've been through it, but the thing is that I did have that last 5 years of closure, and it was unbelievable. But I was ready for it then, because I wasn't ready for it when I was younger. Like I had to do so much healing, on myself.
And there's a lot of folks, especially trans folks, who so long for acceptance. We see examples of people like Plastic Martyr or Sophie McLennan, who seem to have very supportive parents, or Jazz Jennings,
those fucking unicorns.
Unicorns, and so many people struggle with relationships with their parents and mothers.
But there's so many now that it's like, it was like back when we were kids, it was like it was the exception.
It was the exception.
If that happened, it was like, it really was finding a unicorn, like some person that had, because they would be protected. They'd basically it was basically like the witness protection program family. They did everything. They went to because you could only get help for kids at university hospitals back then, right? So if your parents were rich, loaded, usually white, you know what I mean? That was the kids that had the chance to do it. And I see, and the results are that they're well-adjusted people, but most of us didn't have that. Hence why we are so rare, because, if AIDS and the people that wanted to kill us or just us killing ourselves didn't get it, it's like our chances were just, next to none, right?
And I want to point out the fact that, we know from studies that just one or two affirming adults, whether you're gay or trans or non-binary, can actually save a child's life. I was fortunate enough to have that. But those of us who didn't have that, and I had, a few people in my life, but, my parents weren't always supportive. What it does is it drives us to self-loathing and self-harm.
Yeah.
And that's how we get into things like survival work, or we get kicked out of the house, or we don't have any other way to survive. And we turn to drugs and alcohol or sex to cope. which
Yeah.
is, we've learned in our many years, is not the best way to do that.
Exactly. Yeah, having that one person. Mine was my great aunt,
Oh,
Auntie
right.
Jean,
Auntie
and she
Jean.
was like my aunt. She was like my Auntie Mame. If you don't know what
The kids won't know who
Mame is,
that is.
watch that movie. It's like if you want to be a cool queer, learn who Auntie Mame was, and so yeah, she was like my Auntie Mame, and she was the black sheep of of our family in her generation because she had a back alley abortion. She could never
Wow.
have kids. She married Uncle Larry, and they just like and they moved to the coast, and they had the cool big house that they built, and everybody came from the prairies, which was freezing, and for to party at their house because it was by the ocean, the sea, right in Vancouver.
Wow.
And so I was just she taught me how to dance. She was the one that as soon as I was born, she said to my mom, she said, "There's something wrong with that kid." She said, "There's something wrong with that kid." They would say something different, and my mother would just be in denial about it, right? And but my Auntie Jean was always there. So when I ran away to Vancouver, Davie Street, guess who I was calling at 2 in the morning? And she'd get her pack of
Uh,
cigarettes and make a red eye with her beer with tomato juice and just say, "Hold on, kid." And she was there. And I'd sneak over to her place and she'd give me all of her 1960s fucking cool jewelry and her Bakelite jewelry from like the 1940s. And I was just like, that saved my life. Those little visits that I'd had with her made me anchored me. And if you don't
yes.
have that, you're so untethered. Like it's very unlikely that you're going to have a good go at it, right?
And I have a similar story. My parents were separated, and I went from one parent to the other parent. And then finally, my dad said, "Go and live with your friend Vicky and her mom, Arisha," which is a very spiritual name. And she totally accepted me. I was like 14, 15 years old, and I was living in her house. She used the right pronouns, and I wanted to go swimming with my friends in their pool, and she actually made me a cutoff T-shirt and painted all this artwork on it so that I
Aw,
could wear my binder and go swimming. And she was like a second mom to me and affirmed my gender in the 1970s
yeah.
and saved my was one of my lifesavers. And I just texted her today and say, "I'll never forget that you were like a second mother to me, more like a first mother to me, because she got
Aw.
me at a time when my mom and I were totally estranged and barely even speaking." So I want to say
What?
thanks to those accepting mothers, and to those of you who have gone no contact or had to go no contact for your own sanity. You know, I will be your parent. Marty will be your mother,
Yes.
and reach out to us, because it's a lot of us struggle with that
And
longing
yeah,
to be accepted by our
yeah.
mothers.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I'm sure you do. It's like I get inundated with messages from parents and kids. And thank you everybody for your Mother's Day blessings because we're recording this on Mother's Day, that just fills my heart, right? And so we get a lot of questions and people say a lot of stuff to us, like a lot of beautiful things too. So we're going to make that a thing on Sundays for our extra episode for our Patreon listeners. You are going to be able to send in questions.
Absolutely.
We're gonna have like a toll free number that you can call to, but for the moment you can just go to any of our socials. The links are down below, and leave us your questions. And so I've got a bunch that we're going to record after we finish recording this, and then you guys can find it on one of our Sundays that we do it
Yeah, so
because we really appreciate them.
these will be extra free mini episodes. I think they're
Yeah.
free, right, Marty? And we will.
No. These are under the Patreon.
Oh, under
Yeah,
the
this
so
is
you have to
Patreon.
be a
Yeah,
Patreon member,
yeah,
but send us
yeah,
your questions and we will answer them. We're gonna record some of the questions that Marty's received and answer them. And so if you have any questions, please send them to our DMs, any of our
yeah.
socials, and we will get to them.
And if you can't afford the Patreon, like just say that in your note, and we'll squeeze it in to one of the episodes that are free. Because every the first Tuesday of every month, that episode's going to be free, and the first four episodes that of our podcast have been free, and I believe this is the fifth one. So this will be well, I guess the first one would be free because it would be the first Tuesday of the month, right?
Correct.
So it'd be the first five, yeah. So we're figuring it out with you. So we're here. So send your questions because I get so many of them, and it would be so nice to start to answer them because I really get overwhelmed with them when I hear a lot of them, and I find it hard to write by myself and to not start triggering my trauma.
Yes.
You know. So to be able to do it with you, Lenny, and to bring these things and to get your input on these questions, it's safer for me. And I just want to know if anybody is listening that has ever been sending me questions and stuff. I just do not have the capacity to answer everything, right? And maybe we can get into that at some point. That story because we wanted to talk about a friend of mine that I found out that passed away a different way than I thought she did. And she was in Hookers on Davie. She was actually the poster girl in Hookers on Davie. There's pictures of her. I mean, she's in Hookers on Davie, but they didn't actually talk with her. And her name was Chrissy Warren. And I don't know, should I just talk about it
Yeah,
now or?
I do want to talk about that. And after that, I'm just making myself a mental reminder to get back to
Sure.
post trauma and chronic
Yeah,
migraines and how those two are linked. But I want to hear the story
sure.
because when you told me about it, I was very moved and kind of broke my heart a little bit.
Yeah.
So you ran
Yeah. Well,
into
there's this.
somebody?
No, there's this. I go through my DMs, like, that's like the ones that people that I message requests, like maybe once every couple months or
Right.
something. If I have a migraine or something and I'm bored and I'm kind of like coming up for air for a bit. And there is these series of messages from this gay guy that he started leaving them in, like, I don't know, the end of last year, and each one of them was like a book, and it was on my Facebook Messenger, and each one kept escalating because I wasn't getting back to him. And I don't know if people don't realize that it's like, if you're not friends with me, or if you're not like somebody that is like verified, I won't get your message.
Oh,
It'll just be
interesting.
stuck in the old, like, message request thing. So anyways, he was first talking about, oh my God, you did this video TikTok, and was one of my viral TikToks about the hookers on Davie
Right.
in 1970s, because that's where I grew up. I had to learn how to be a woman by all these fucking hookers
And that
on
was
Davie
in
Street, right?
Montreal? No, that was
It was in Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Yeah, it was in Vancouver. So there's a famous documentary called Hookers on Davie. It just did its 40th anniversary re-release. It's been digitized in HD. Like, I swear to Christ, you think you're in the 1980s. Like, I can't even watch it because it's so real now. I watched the first 10 minutes, and as soon as I saw Tiggy, my best friend
Oh
who killed
God.
herself, I was so creeped out. I had an AFib attack. I had to stop for 6 hours. My heart was just going
Oh
nuts
my God.
because it just freaked me out so bad. So, anyways, yeah, so that's out on DVD release for the first time, for actually Blu-ray disc, and they actually got me. I'm actually on it talking about them and stuff. So there's a lot of extra content for this anniversary issue. If you want to get it, check it out. You can just Google it, like, Blu-ray disc Hookers on Davie. Anyways, so this kid, he started saying, "Oh, I knew you did this video about Chrissy Warren. I didn't know that she died, that she got murdered. Like,
Oh
oh my
my
God!" It's
God.
like, and he was like freaking out about it. And then he says, "Can you please tell me, like, blah blah blah, all this stuff?" And then the next, about a month later, I guess, he sent another long. Like, my husband couldn't believe how long it was. I said, "Look at this." I said, "Should I answer it?" And he was, "No, because it went absolutely south." And then they said, "Well, I see that you're not like that you're too famous to answer this and stuff." Well, I did my own digging around, and I went to the Extra West in Vancouver, which is like the queer newspaper there, and they said, "Yeah, they've been having a lot of problems with your video," and it's like, and people are saying that it's like that they're saying that it's like, some people want to glamorize that they've survived that long. and then to be popular, and it's like, and it's like, because she didn't die, she ended up she was on the streets in Toronto for like 10 years, and then she came back, and that's when I saw her just before she died. I guess before she died, she was like wearing men's shoes that were like runners that were she probably got at some fucking like soup kitchen. She just reeked like, it's like, and this is this glamorama ding dong girl that was just so gorgeous and stunning. That
Wow.
Chrissy Warren. She's on the poster of Hookers on Davie with the umbrella. Just check it out when you
I
Google
was
that name.
trying to do a screen share so I could share the
Oh my
cover,
God.
but
And she was
yeah.
so, she was one of my aunties when I first came, when I was 15, when I met them. And, but she was hardcore though. She had me like turning doubles with her right away. It was like, I like, first I thought she was like, just, you know what I mean? There was always ulterior motives. Right. And, and I was diddled by her too when I was young. It's like that was the thing with
Wow.
these mothers and stuff. It's like we always hear like the kumbaya, Paris is burning, oh, it's so cool type of thing. Yeah, I could just imagine what the fucking closet stories are, that everybody's hiding, because we were really sick
Well,
people. We were really sick. We were like we didn't grow up in
we
healthy
didn't grow
ways.
up in
You know what I
healthy
mean?
ways. We didn't have the support we needed. And Carly was saying earlier, the power of mother can be abused as a power dynamic, which
Yeah,
I think is
exactly.
really interesting. Um,
Yeah, it's true. It's like, it's obvious, right? Like, sure, yeah, I learned a lot from them and everything like that and whatever. And it's like, but the thing is that with this gay kid, he just started getting really cunty faggy, like that that type of gay cuntiness that I can't stand. And I'm not the
ugh,
good cunty
I
kind,
know.
like
I
just a
know.
little fucking faggot. Like, it's sorry. It's like, I hate that word, but it's like, but it's just a real, like, that real using their male privilege thing and looking down at you. Like, it's been I got resentment against a lot of gay men because they used to like say, why are you wearing that? That's not feminine. Do that. They'd always say that to me. And you had to take it.
Yeah.
You had to fucking take it because it's like they own the clubs or whatever like that. It was like, it was it was the fucking patriarchy at its finest. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're queer. So anyways, this kid just freaking started ripping into me, and he says, you got to take that video down and blah, blah, blah. And then so I watched the video, and I said just really quickly at the end of that, it was just really horrible, the ending of Chrissy, because when I saw her, it was just unbelievable. She was panhandling. It was so, and she was still all like, "Hi, girl, how's it going?" Like, and she was like, and then she's
Like
going,
nothing
"Oh
had
God, you're just,"
changed.
yeah, and she's going, "Girl, you're so full of fear. Like, what's going on?" It's like, and I said something because I was going to a meeting and stuff, and I was talking. She goes, "Oh," she says, "You have a heart." It was like
Wow.
this. It was like this poor soul that had their heart sucked right out of them, all of a sudden looking at me like, oh, you have a heart. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, and you're fragile and stuff. And she goes, I get it. She goes, and then that was it. And then so she ended up going to her mother's in White Rock one weekend. I guess they were still talking, and she just took a hand. He made it sound glamorous. He goes, she fell on hard times and went to her mother to end it. And she took she took a pill bottle full of pills, and, with a glass of champagne. It's like, I'm going, yeah, what the fuck? And died, right?
And
And
that's the horrible
and then
thing.
they're going, she wasn't murdered. You have to change that. And it's like, and I said that she was unalived, just really quickly, right? And it's like, and there's so many people that were unalived, that unalived themselves, that were like, and it's like, it just was so bizarre hearing it from somebody like that. It was like, like, it was like, grade your trauma, or grade the way that you left this mortal coil. Chrissy and Tiggy had been almost attempted murdered so many times. So many times
Wow.
I picked them up
Wow.
at the
Wow.
hospital with beat up faces, everything like that. It's like, it was suicide on installments. And you know what I mean? Like, it was like they killed themselves. They murdered themselves. It's like the world murdered them, basically murdered them, and they just fucking like helped them, right?
And
because they couldn't have it
unfortunately,
anymore.
I feel like that's the way a lot of society, not a lot, but a certain portion of the society is trying to make it so hard for us because they found us to be very convenient political pawns to pitch their conservative right wing narrative that they're making this small minority of the population. Oh, we're doing this to kids, or we're indoctrinating, or we're reading
All
books
that
about
bullshit.
drag queens in preschool, and and the amount of pressure and trauma that this places on us over years of our life that we have to deal with going forward from not being accepted, that in the future we will be. And as you mentioned before when we were talking, that this moment in time will pass and we won't be the cause celeb that we've been for the last 6 years. Oh, they're
Yeah, and
the
can we just
baddies.
kind of everybody just cool your fucking jets? It's like,
Please.
I've been getting young ones going like, because I dance around in the kitchen and leave these little messages, with text because that's the only way the algorithm will let me fucking say anything,
Right. Oh, that's
but
a that's a great
yeah,
technique.
and then
Great
but the thing
technique.
is that I get all these like young ones that say, "Oh my God, yeah." It's like how can you say that? It's like they're gonna have us in camps in 2 years, and it's like all this stuff that's been taken away, and it's like. I get it. It's like, our suffering is relative, but that's like saying, oh, it's like, oh yeah, sure, the plague happened and all that
Right.
stuff, but it's like, look at the suffering that we're having now. Yeah, but we learned how to the plague isn't happening like that anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's like there's the information's out, the genie's out of the bottle. We're in the zeitgeist. We're in the fucking fabric of the fucking mainstream.
Thank
We're
you.
just we're like fucking we're just infecting it all with the fucking truth. You know what I mean? Like it's fucking great.
And what I
And
think is so awesome is that there are as many people as are maligning us and saying these horrible things about trans people. There we do have a very strong contingent of people that are supporting us. Parents that are testifying in front of Congress,
yes,
ministers and
people that are
clergy
in
people
Congress,
that are in
trans the
Congress,
people that are in Congress.
and that are fighting
Like
for us.
fuck.
And so this moment will pass, and trust me, younglings, our power is going to come back to us, but you can't hate the haters. As
We were
Alok
just mentally
says,
ill before.
yes,
That's
we were.
it. That's
But
it. Like it's so much better. Like really know your history and get out of the fucking funk in your head and really know your
and
history.
realize
Because
the
if you know your history, you know where you're fucking going.
exactly realize the power that we have, and we're going to do an episode about this maybe next week about the history of transness throughout humankind, right? Where we have ancient Sumerian texts of non-binary
Yeah.
people, and we have people in the 1900s who were living life as an alternate gender, where people like us were considered spiritual beings and
Sears.
seers.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that we would perform births and give blessings to people. I don't care if that's true as far as the
We were
spiritual.
medicine
We
women.
were
We were like
medicine men
in
and
native
medicine
cultures.
women,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but we are just the same as a
With all the other
left-handed
witches.
person, a redheaded person. Redheads were considered to be witches and drowned or burned, or
Yeah.
autistic people, small percentage of the population, and we are a normal human variant.
Yeah. And just to backtrack for anybody that's listening, like you youngins that are out there in the trenches, my fucking heart's out with you because I know how fucking hard it is. I know how hard it is to transition in this world. Don't get me wrong. Like I know that, but there is a baptism of fire with our fucking being trans. That's always been the case.
And
You know.
I had someone say to me that some people were cosplaying being trans because they would get attention, or I'm sorry, I don't think anybody would choose to be part of a community that's being berated, maligned, beat up, imprisoned, sexually assaulted, and sometimes unalived.
And then it gets twisted in our own community because they think that non-binary trans people are cosplaying, right? And we have to watch it. You know what I mean? Like it's like again, it's about knowledge, history. It's like knowing some non-binary people, like getting into getting walking in their shoes with them, like getting to know these people before you start beaking off on that stuff, because we really are in this together, and it's just like, sure, it's like we can blend and it's like whatever, it's like, but I think that the bricks and the people that the non-binary people that are so obviously different, you know I think they're the front lines, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll be honest, it took me,
They always will be. Look at Marsha P and all them. Everybody would have been calling them bricks, and they were telling them to be quiet.
and it took me a minute, I have to say, to get my head around non-binary. When I first
Oh, me
met my
too.
non-binary person in like 15, 20 years ago, Athena in Michigan, and I said, "I'm sorry, you're what?" And I thought, wow, that almost seems like the ideal if we didn't have this patriarchal binary,
Yes.
the gender binary, we could all express, look, I rarely used to wear pink. I'm wearing a pink shirt, and I like some, occasionally I'll paint my nails, but I don't like the way it feels weird. But um now
And
we
you look
get to,
great in a pair. And you look great in a pair of heels.
thank you, honey. I'll post that picture for the next
It's
episode.
great.
But I get to express this without it affecting my identity. Like the last time I wore a dress was at my grandmother's funeral because my mom was there, and I hadn't worn a dress in years. I had already transitioned. I was 16 years old, and I put on pantyhose and a fucking dress, and it was hard enough to see my grandmother, who was very nurturing and kind to me when I was growing up, but then also to cross dress, if that makes sense, after having lived as a boy for, a couple of years already in my teens. Um, but if I wanted to do that now, it wouldn't affect my identity at all because, I have
Yeah.
a trans masculine identity and my wife loves it, and people just, that's my energy, right? That's what I have inside of me. Um, but
Without without deviation from the norm, evolution is not possible.
yes, thank you. And that's how we grow, right? We grow as people, individuals, and as a species, as you said.
And that's why I have they and my pronouns, because I'm reclaiming that for my non-binary inner child,
Oh,
because I
good.
I wasn't obsessed with I wasn't obsessed with Barbie dolls and all that traditional stuff, right? I was like, there was some things, I was like, I was acing my mom, stuff that my mom was doing at her modeling agency. Like I was walking with books on my head. She'd get them to me to show the other her grown up models. Oh, watch Marty type of thing. Like I knew how to do that really fast.
Yeah,
All that stuff really
that's
fast. I got
great.
bored of it. I got bored of it really quick. But it's like there was this. But I loved dinosaurs. I loved.
Oh, I love dinosaurs.
I loved anthropology.
Yeah.
The study of man. It's like Zinjanthropus, Pithecanthropus erectus. I wanted to be a leaky girl. I wanted to
Oh,
be in the
absolutely.
bush.
I and
Yeah. So all that stuff.
I just always find it so interesting how trans people get fixated on certain things, and in the
Yeah.
younger trans community that I've noticed, they're very into video games and video gaming, which, you know, but trans women in particular seem to be into that, and also witchcraft and being witches,
Yeah.
because witches were also uh,
Ostracized.
ostracized.
Yeah.
Thank you. Um,
Yeah.
so it's interesting. I was really into Native American culture when I was growing up. I wanted,
Hmm.
those knee-high suede boots, and I wanted to wear the fancy suede vests, and I would read all about Native American experience. And I think you and
Yeah.
I are both very cognizant of the struggles of the indigenous communities in both of our
Yeah.
countries.
I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, which is like the cowboy central of Canada, right? They
Wow.
have the greatest outdoor show on earth, the Calgary Stampede, every year, right? Everybody from all over the world goes there. And I was one of the young Canadians of the Calgary Stampede. It's like it was a song and dance kid group that did the grandstand show every year type of thing, and with featured
I'm
guests and
looking it up
whatnot.
right now.
Yeah, the young Canadians of the Calgary Stampede. So, why the fuck was I talking about Calgary
Because of
again? Like about
indigenous people.
Oh yeah, indigenous stuff, and Oh yeah, when I was young, before the Young Canadians, when I was so young, I'd always be, I'd always get lost, or they would, my parents would lose me. But then they knew where to find me after the first time. I'd always be in at the front of the Stampede was the native exhibitions, and they'd have the teepees, and I would always be in the teepees with with the women making stuff, and weaving and doing all that stuff, and
How old were
I just
you?
love that stuff. Oh God, I was first memories 5, 6.
Wow. And that
Yeah,
really
and I was
attracted you. You were drawn to that.
yeah, I really love that stuff because my brothers were into like cowboys and stuff, so I'd always be the Indian, right, type of thing.
Wow.
So I'd always be, yeah. I actually threw a butcher knife in my brother's head doing it once,
My sister once
and
threw a dart at me when she was
I
playing
did it on
darts.
purpose.
Wow. Well, that'll be something really interesting to talk about, and maybe one day we can have a transgender indigenous person on our as one of our special guests because we will be having special
Yeah.
guests, folks, and that's going to be really
Yes.
exciting.
I need
But
some
to
guest
learn more
setting.
about the two spirit experience in ancient cultures
Yeah.
and how that goes. But and these are people we can learn from and history that we can learn from. And when people want to shut down their brains and say, no, there's only black and white, male and female, you know,
Yeah. And it was
immigrant
so
or
sad.
citizen.
And it was so sad when I was growing up because Tiggy, my best friend that I talk about a lot, she was Métis, which is in Canada. It's French and Native, right? And she used to make fun of Native stuff, and I did with her too. Like we used to
Ugh.
pretend like we used to pretend we were two drunk Native, like a drunk Native couple when we were living together. When we'd fight, we'd go into these characters, and
Wow.
yeah, we'd
Wow.
go into these characters, and she'd be yelling and screaming,
Did
and
they
I'd
have
go,
a
Archie,
particular
don't do that to me, and she'd go, shut up and put that stuff on your twat and get in the bedroom, and
is
it's like,
that did they have a specific accent?
well, yeah, they have the drawl type of thing, like that. It's a little bit, yeah, it's like that. Yeah, but it was horrible, and it's like, and everybody was doing it. It's like Native people were doing that about their own stuff. Like there was because of the whole, residential school thing. Everybody
Right,
was like
right. How
programmed
horrible.
and also fucked up with God and
And the
stuff,
thing
right?
is how we've grown, and you and I are such kindred spirits because we're the same age. We transitioned about the same time. We had struggles with drugs and alcohol and
Yeah,
whatever. But we our
and wild
minds,
men and wild women.
yeah, our minds evolved, right? Because I was racist living in New Orleans and didn't even know it until I moved up north. I was
Yes,
so indoctrinated
me
with
too.
racism,
Yes,
and finally I got it, and I said, "Oh my God, there's a certain amount of because I'm half Cuban. There's a
yeah.
certain amount of self-loathing in
Yes.
that we have to overcome as individuals, you
Absolutely.
know."
Absolutely. Yeah, because when I was growing up too, my mother used to say, I want, when my mom divorced my dad at 9, she says, I want you to, she used to say, I want you to take your stepfather's name, Cruz. And I wouldn't do it. And then she says, well, just don't tell anybody that you're Polish.
Oh my goodness. Well, I have to say you do
Because
the best Polish accent I've ever heard.
my grandma, yeah, you're going to go down into hell, into a big pot with the devil dancing around you.
I think we should do an entire
Love you,
episode,
grandma.
and I'll do my mother. Lenny, why are you wearing those clothes? Why are you walking that way? Why do you have to stand like a man? Lenny, go and put on a dress. Why do you have to wear that? It was always some kind of criticism or, which I
Yeah.
think a
Or when
lot
my
of people
grandmother
get from
started
their
to see me
mothers anyway.
dressing, she'd say, she's Marty's cuckoo crazy something.
Oh my gosh.
Hilarious. Well, happy Mummy's Day to the
I know
universe.
we've got so
To,
much to overcome and to talk through. And this is like for me, it's I have a therapist, but you're also going through these memories, however difficult they are, but also these experiences of growth. And it's like, wow, we're coming to our fullness or meeting our higher self, which I'm not quite sure what that means. You're a lot more locked in than I am at this point. But uh, how can we achieve our higher selves? How can we meet our higher selves?
I think it's about taking that time. I call it tapping into the inner resource, tapping into your inner. So, following, like the acronym for God for me is good orderly direction,
Oh, I like that.
or it could be great outdoors, right? Whatever gives you that buzz, makes you feel connected, anchored, with the earth, being able to, I think helping others helps cultivate that too when you're helping others, because then you get out of your own cock up shit in your head.
Right.
The best way to get out of your own shit is to help somebody that's more fucked up than you. And there's
Yes.
always somebody more fucked up than you out there. Like, I'm serious. If you're fucking, funky town and stuff, like, get a, take a shift at a soup kitchen, start talking to people out there, whatever. If you're in the program, like, fucking go to a meeting and find somebody more fucked up than you, and go early to a meeting. And, and I'm just saying, folks, the whole fucking world's mentally ill. We all qualify for some 12-step program. It is like the cheapest form of therapy you can get, and it's like, and you really do take out the garbage in your head and start to see what your defects of character are, what those shortcomings are that you keep putting yourself in those positions to be heard, or those positions for that stuff to happen. And then you make the amends on those things, type of thing, that you did that to people in the past. So it really is like, it's an inside job, taking out that garbage and then helping other people,
Right.
do that. You know what I mean? But I think everybody qualifies for a program out there. Like, there's, alcohol, drugs, family of people that are on drugs, and everybody has somebody like that. Just to do a set of steps. It's like therapy. Like, it's like if people are, can't get the money together to do therapy and
No,
stuff.
and
It's a
my
really great way to do it.
my little sister, who was, hardcore drinker for many years, finally got sober 5 years before she died in a car accident in Colorado. And
Oh
she
no.
became a giver. Exactly what you're saying. She went to meetings
Yeah.
and she found people who were more fucked up than she was, and she helped them.
Yeah.
And she found grace, and she made amends, and she worked the steps, and she never slipped up once, which is rare for a lot of AA and NA people.
Yeah.
But she taught me a lot, and I miss her tremendously. But she and her girlfriend, she was lesbian, died in a, well, actually, I think she was bisexual, but she died in a motorcycle accident in Colorado, swerving
Oh
to miss
wow.
elk on the road because they were both animal
Wow.
lovers. But yeah, there are groups out there. There's therapy.
Right to the
There's
end, she was helping
she
others.
was to the end. She was helping others. So find your people, find the help that you
Yeah.
need. I'm fortunate enough to have health insurance here in the United States that covers therapy, because I have to still, even after all this time, I still have to work out the trauma with
Yeah.
my parents, my siblings, and it's a constant work in progress to get over that trauma. And I just want to talk for a minute, Marty. You said that you'd suffered with migraines this week,
Yeah.
and I know you have them frequently. Can you tell me a little bit, because I'm not familiar with how PTSD can cause physical ailments?
Yeah. Well, post traumatic stress disorder is like the disorder name, right? Type of thing. So so the symptoms of that, or what qualifies for that is, different things can happen, like psychologically, physically, and for me, it rears its head with chronic pain, with migraine, and so when I'm triggered too much about stuff or whatever, my body shuts down through migraine, so I have to do a retreat. So it's almost like a forced, time out type of thing. The universe is making me do it, and because I find as if I try to keep my sleep hygiene, my fucking like friend hygiene, like everything, in order, things are better. But it doesn't take much to push the thing. We had a little blip in our stuff last week with our show, and there, and it's normal for that stuff to happen. But I am so hypersensitive that it's easy for that get set off. And because I've been marinated in trauma since childhood, because my
Right.
mother was my abuser. That's the reason why I was estranged from her for 28 years. So it's like, so I was, and then going right from that to the streets to all that stuff, it's a lot, right? So since I came into recovery at 28, I've been able to look at this and make peace with that, and get a bunch of tools that I can use, different healing modalities that I've been using over the decades. And, we even have a little yoga slash, I call it my panic room, on the side of the house. Yeah. So we end up, so I end up in there a lot, doing yoga, meditation. It's like, yeah, sure. I had a migraine all yesterday, not as bad as the one before, but it's like I just spent most of the day, in restorative yoga poses, because
Wow.
I'm a trained teacher in
I
it,
want to
and
talk
just
about
listening to
that
music
next
and
time.
breathing it, and it's just about dropping into that where creating that safe space. And opening up, because I was all clenched like this type of thing. So I had to do a lot of poses where I'm opening. So I was like laying over bolsters, open like that, and doing some breath work and with this music, and doing thought processes, so that I can release what's ready to be released, and breathe in healing, just
What's so
say those
interesting is
affirmations.
that all the trauma that we've experienced early in our lives, in our childhood, in our teen years, in our young adulthood, can persist all the way, even if we've done a lot of processing, we've worked on this
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but it still affects us. I had a triggering phone call with my mom this morning, and I really wanted to shut down. I didn't want to do the podcast. I wanted to curl up in a ball and just cry, or
Yeah.
you know
Oh,
but this is healing to me. And so for anybody who's going through that, please send us your questions. We want to answer them. We're
yes.
not perfect humans. We haven't grown up to be the super trans of the world, the trans role models of the universe. But we're here for you, and as
And we look good.
we, we try. I think for our age, we look fucking good. God damn it.
Yeah, I
Um,
think so too.
and
But
and I
it's
always take my beauty tips from Marty, so
oh,
that's extra. That's a bonus episode, by the way.
that's sweet. Yeah, and so yeah, we have these space machines today. So it's like use them. Like find these communities. Like if you're grooving, if you like what you hear here, stick around, talk, leave us questions, whatever. It's like we're here to share our experience, strength, and hope with y'all. And
Experience, strength,
that
and hope. That should be our
yeah, and that's
motto.
yeah, and that's what's great about the age that we live in today. Like we can get all of this. Like what do they call it? They call it connection. That the opposite of connection is, I don't know, suffering or something like that. It's
Yeah.
like it's like the more we stay connected, even on these space machines, the more grounded we feel, right?
I love you so much. I'm so grateful
Love you
for you
too, honey.
today, and
Yeah,
and for
you
all our
too.
listeners and people who send us questions, because it's just, to me, as hard as this work is to be exposed and telling our stories, because it's kind of embarrassing sometimes.
And a
Um,
shout out to the producers
oh,
of our podcast, Carly and Carmen, for helping us get this out there into the zeitgeist. We love you guys so much.
yeah, Diva
Thank
Down
you for all your hard
Productions.
work.
They're
Diva
amazing.
down,
Diva Down, baby.
my
Bring it.
babies.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Well, yeah, we'll see you next week
We hope you
for
enjoyed this
more.
episode of A Life Lived Trans podcast. We'll be releasing new episodes every week exclusively right here on Patreon. If you want to find us individually, look for Marty Pants, that's with a Z, a Z, as they say in Canada, and Lenny Zenith. This was fun. I thought we had such great heartfelt connection today.
Yeah, I do too. It's been wonderful. So, everybody, just hold the line. We're getting
Hold the
there. We
line. We're
love
getting
you.
there.
We'll see you next Sunday.
A Life Lived Trans is a Diva Down production, produced by Carmen Laurent and Carly, aka Tranby.
Your hosts are Lenny Zenith and Marty Perenek. Thank you for supporting our Life Lived Trans testimonies.
For full episodes and bonus content, please visit www.patreon.com/alifelivedtrans.